After running a 2:40.44 back in 2023, I've been searching for that marathon PB ever since. Two more attempts since then saw me run a 2:57 at London in 2024 and then a 2:44 later in the year in a storm at Abingdon. This year's conditions are much better and I finally cracked the code to run a new PB of 2:39. Today I want to break down the race, how I achieved my B goal on the day and what I've learned from this marathon that I'll be taking forward with me into my next marathon training block. So let's get stuck into the race recap video. What I want to do today is break down the race into 4 sections, go through that with you, keep it relatively brief because of course you saw how it all unfolded in the race vlog. Talk about the good and the bad, what went right, what went wrong, the fueling most importantly because that was the A goal during this race, the course that was mentioned a few times, and then of course what's next into 2026 and what I'm going to target because again a few of you alluded to in the comments that I could have definitely run quicker on a faster course. I do agree, but I'll give you my honest thoughts on that later in the video. Let's get stuck in and break down this race. So if you watched the previous race video, you'll know that I kind of didn't throw caution to the wind, but did just adapt my plan slightly. That was more a case of rather than taking the first 3 or 4 miles easy and then locking in after that, I decided to take the opportunity of locking in at mile 2, more so because that was a gentle downhill race. Stars seemed to align in terms of the fact that I rocked up healthy, training had been good, and I felt fit. I didn't feel sluggish, I felt ready to go. And I thought to myself, there's not many opportunities I'm going to get during a big marathon race where I'm going to feel like that, so it would be a waste if I didn't go out there with intent. That did mean that I was suffering early, however, we did hold on, and again, we'll talk about that shortly. So I decided to just let things easily roll out of the gate, get around the track, get out of the park and out onto the road. When you get out onto the road, it's a gentle rise and then you click off mile 1 and it kind of goes down the other side and you level out. So that's when I wanted to lock in. Obviously I logged a 6+ mile on that first mile and then I logged a 5:55 and I believe the third one was 5:58. So my mentality at that third mile was that everything was going really well. This is exactly what I wanted to happen and I'm a couple of miles away from finishing this first section, which is getting out of the town and out onto the loop. However, I kind of forgot because I was so focused on the storm last year how twisty, turny and a little bit awkward miles 4 and 5 and a bit are, more so because you go through a woodland track from mile 3 to 4. It is concrete and kudos to the organisers, they've done a good job on clearing that path. However, it is just a little bit too woodlandy. The path underneath the foot isn't quite as flat and smooth, so you do kind of feel like you're running a little bit on trail. So it was kind of a case of get out of there, then you're hopping up and down pavements to get out of the town, or you go through town I should say, but it's a bit twisty turny through a few small alleyways through the town, up and down the pavement and then out the other side. When you get out the other side, you hit the loop around 5.7-ish I think it is. So I knew that when the 5th mile clicked over as I was going through town, I didn't have long to go to get out to the loop. A little bit discouraged at that point after mile 4 and 5. They were both in the 6s, but at the same time I knew I'd be stupid to try and push the pace through here because I was just going to burn matches too early. I was working too hard, or I should say I would have worked too hard to try and maintain 5:55s through that section. And I think at that point I was just checking in on the heart rate. It was all stable, it was all good. I didn't want to go any faster. Section 2, which is the first loop, so we do that 5.5-ish miles out, 2 loops of around 9 miles and then that small section back. So loop 1, as with the loop, and I've done this course 3 times now, I know that the first section there is a little bit of pavement running. To be fair, the pavement is relatively smooth, it's good, and it's gently up on this side. You flatten out and then come gently down the other side. So I knew that it was just a case of working up this side, getting the first couple of miles done, because mile 6 and 7 tick over and you are going gently up. And then when you get to sort of 8 and 9 at the top of the loop, you can start to breathe a sigh of relief because you know you go through some nice, smoother and fast roads through the industrial estate area, then out the other side on some nice, smooth concrete, and you can really put your foot down. So I knew the goal was, again, to take that first section of the loop a little bit controlled, get to the top and really let loose. Now, in this first section, I had a great group that I was working with. There were a few of us and it was absolutely fantastic. By the time we got to the top of that loop and we were coming down the other side, it had kind of whittled down to around 4 or 5 of us, and we started to come down the other side, and then we enjoyed that section of the loop, splitting some slightly faster miles. At that point, we approached halfway in 1:18:45. I was checking my watch, I was like 13.11 and it was like 1:18:43, 44, 45. So I was like, fantastic. That's 2:37.30 pace roughly. So I thought, bang on, that's fine. I'm not going to hit my A goal, but I knew again within myself I was working at the right effort. I just had to take that. It was just a reminder out on that course that it's not necessarily the fastest, but I could get a good rhythm going, and I was really grateful at that point. Not only was I working hard, but I was sustaining it. So I was a little bit in the back of my mind thinking, oh, am I going to hold this to the end? But at the same time, quite grateful that, as per in training, the 5:55s to 6 flats felt good, felt marathon effort, and again, heart rate was stable. However, by the time we got to halfway, it had just tipped over where I wanted it to be, but again, nothing too crazy. So after halfway, you kind of get mile 14 done, and then you get the bouncy rubber tarmac section done, which is one of the two bits that I really don't like on this course. It's about 800 meters long. You get that done, and then you're out the other side, you start the second loop. So I just got my head down, let that bit tick over, and then jobs are good and you're out onto the loop to start the second round. And just before we carry on with this video, for one last time, I want to take some opportunity to say a massive thanks to SAYSKY for sponsoring this video. They have supported me through this Abingdon Marathon training block for the 8-week build up, for the race itself, and of course this video too. The discount code on screen is going to be expiring very soon. This is the last chance that you guys can use it. So if you've enjoyed any of the kit that you've seen on the channel during the training series, during the race, or any time throughout the year, they have a great selection on their website right now. This discount code, FOD15, it gets 15% off all full price items. And of course, keep your eye out for future releases, sadly when the discount code is expired, for some of their awesome upcoming winter drops too. But a couple of them have already happened, so you can grab some of that now using that discount code. Once again, SAYSKY, a huge thanks for supporting me throughout this marathon training block. It means the world to me to have you on my team. I'm so grateful, and to you guys, thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed using SAYSKY kit, or you fancy picking some up, make sure you use the discount code on screen now. The second loop saw us start with just 2 runners, because on that bouncy track section I was running with Rob, who was the chap in the blue vest that I ran with a lot of this race. He was fantastic. It was his debut. He ran a 2:38, so huge shout out to him. It was great to share some miles with him. Didn't talk too much out there, but we exchanged a few words here and there, just giving ourselves some encouragement. We were kind of buzzing by the fact that we were starting at this stage to pick people off. We turned around on that bouncy track actually, noticed that the rest of the pack had fallen behind. We kicked on. We felt good, and we also noticed the people up in front were coming towards us, so that was great. So we were just starting to feed off that energy. So we start that second loop. He gets about 10-20 meters on me up that first side of the loop, and I'm just kind of trying to stay with him. I don't want to drop the effort. He's solidly holding the right pace that I want to hit, and I'm like, I want to hit this, especially now in the second loop. This is where we commit, even though I felt like I committed a while before. I don't want to let up on this. So I just kind of, although he got a gap on me, I was just trying to hold that gap strong, and we just started to pick off runners one by one up that side. So then we get to around mile 17 as we approach the final section of that loop. I've caught back up to Rob. I take the lead. It's quite windy up on that side, just like it was the previous year. Not as bad, but it was quite windy, wind in your face. And again, I knew there was a mile and a half-ish to get to the top of that, which is around 19 miles, where we turned and started that nice section of the loop on the back side of it. Got up there, we were working together again, back level, and it was fantastic. We were just pushing each other on, picking off runners, talking to each other, saying words of encouragement. We're going to do this. 20, just 6 miles to go. 21, 5 miles to go, that sort of thing. Now at 21, I got a second wind. I felt really good, really strong. I was shocked at this point how good I felt. And I knew at 22.5 I had that rubber track section once again coming up. So I kind of like kicked on at 21, put a good gap between myself and Rob. I don't know, I didn't turn around, but I must admit I thought at that point I dropped him. I thought everyone else had dropped off, and I just pushed on. Again, just picking off the runners from the packs that were in front that were just coming back to me. And it was a wonderful feeling, just feeding off that energy, plus the energy that I had was great. Hit the bouncy track. Got through that okay. It wasn't nice, it wasn't pleasant. Got out the other side, mile 23 ticked over, and I dropped pace just a tiny bit, but again, I still felt relatively strong, and I knew there was just one section left to go, which was that final 2.5-3 miles. Now this is where the fun started, because I knew the subway was coming up. Now the subway is a section at mile 24.5, and when I got to that point again, there was a few England and Welsh master runners that were just coming back to me. 1 or 2 went past me, I went past them, I should say. And I was just trying to hang on to a couple of them, as you probably saw in the video. We hit that subway, which is a down, right angle, down, right angle, flat, right angle, up. and that just stunted everything. Like, I was starting to fade. That mile 24 was like a 6:11 or 6:12, so just dropped 10 seconds a mile. Still felt okay, way better than the previous year. However, that was the last straw. Trying to come back up there, out the other side, just absolutely broke me. Now, I was keeping in my mind that last year I dropped to 650s per mile in those last couple of miles. This year, for mile 25 and 26, I only dropped to 630, so I think it was a 632 and a 636, I think. And although it felt slower, I was able to turn the legs over well and still have a decent amount of energy. I just didn't quite have the energy levels that I had before. We turned on to that final stretch, and who should come past me but Rob. What a hero, what a run. He'd obviously been conserving right until that point, and he just went past me. Again, said some words of encouragement as he went past. So did I, and we came up onto the track. He was just in front of me. I was about 20-30 meters behind him. He did amazing. We passed again and a couple more people up on the way onto the track, and then we just got to the track and I felt quite good. I dropped 5:50 pace around that for the last 400 meters or so, or yeah, it was about that, and I felt like really energized, which was great. We'll come on to the fueling shortly. It was just those last couple of miles that let me down. Really happy with it, crossed the line and didn't feel too bad, but I did feel like really proud of myself for committing to that pace early, for running hard for the majority of the race, something I haven't done in a marathon for a very long time. So let's go through the good and the bad. Well, I think honestly the only bad thing I can think is just those last couple of miles. That subway just broke all pacing that I had. I was running out of energy, if I'm honest, and it just, although I held on relatively decently, I'm quite proud of it, to be honest with you, it just sucked everything out of the legs. Anything I had left, that bouncy track twice, and then that subway was just the end. And again, we'll talk about the course shortly. But to be honest with you, I'm really proud of the performance. It wasn't quite that A goal that I wanted, but I got a PB. I finally broke sub 240, which I've been trying to do for like 3 years now. So that's great. It's just been overall kind of that overwhelming feeling of it's been a really good year. The pre-marathon training went well, so that's a big tick. The 8-week marathon block went well, so that's a big tick, and the fact that I rocked up healthy, feeling good. And to be fair, the weather wasn't too bad. It did get windy in that second half, I'm not going to lie, it would and did have an impact, but it was certainly nothing like last year. I think maybe you could be talking 2 or 3 seconds a mile in that second half of the race per mile for maybe miles 15 to 19 as we were running into it. Other than that, it really wasn't that big, and I'm certainly not going to use it as an excuse, so I was quite grateful for that. So realistically, the stars aligned on that day. I went out there, I was proud of myself for putting in that effort, committing early and just seeing if her body could stick it, and it did. I trusted in the fueling and it paid off. And that's the next thing I want to talk about, the fueling, before we get to the course and what's next. So the fueling, this was the A goal. I went into this race picking Abingdon because I did not want to waste any money flying abroad, doing a big marathon, so I was going to put another underwhelming performance in. So I went into this race, yes, I had a few time goals in there, but they weren't anything like what I wanted to achieve out of the fueling, and I ticked that box, so I'm very happy. In the past, I've trusted Morton. I think the Morton gels are 25 grams of carbs in it. I was getting a couple of those an hour, 50 grams of carbs. And for someone that's 6'6" and 89, 90-ish kilos, it's just not enough. It's not even enough for anyone like 5'6", 5'7", and like 50, 60 kilos. You need to be fueling well to get the optimal performance. So I knew going into this race this summer, I've been committing to this since May, training the gut with precision fuel gels. I just ditched Morton, had enough of them last year at London when I threw up all over the course at mile 22. It was horrific, and I was just so done with it. So delighted that precision have worked for me, and I stuck to the plan, which was fueling every 20 minutes, non-caffeinated calf, non-caffeinated calf, non-caffeinated calf, and then I went another calf. So I got 300, is that 300, 400 milligrams of caffeine on the course? I can't remember, but I felt really, really good that I stuck 7 gels. I did start to feel a little bit sick at the end, whether that was because I had a double caff, I don't know. I didn't have any pre-race caffeine either, so that wasn't an issue. It was just the caffeine on the course, and I knew I wanted to get that in early. So that went really well. Ultimately, I think I need to still get more. However, I got 210 grams of carbs on board during a marathon, which is something I have never done before, and it showed in the performance. So what I feel like I could take away from this is on a fast, flat Seville Valencia, somewhere really fast. I think those 5:55s would have been attainable to tick off mile after mile. I'm not going to say I could have run 5:50s or even in the 5:40s. On that day, I felt like 5:55s were good, and I think if I'd have stuck that, I could have ended up with a 2:36, 2:37. So that will be definitely the goal next year, but ultimately the fueling has worked. I'm going to be sticking with precision, and really I'm going to be seeing if I can take on more calories. Just as a quick side note as well with the fueling, I also took a soft flask with me, which I ran with for the first 7 miles at 200 ml of water in it, making sure I got some hydration in early. That was fantastic as well. That made sure I still used the water stations, but every other one after that, it just made sure that I was hydrating better once again than I ever have. And once again, I would not hesitate to do that in the future. In fact, I think that's going to become part of my routine to carry a soft flask for those first few miles. So the course, let's talk about the course very quickly. It was highlighted in a variety of comments. Yes, the course isn't particularly the fastest. That's pretty obvious. As I said earlier on, the goal for this marathon was to go there and fuel well. That was the only goal. I did not want to waste money on anything other than an easy local marathon that I could get to on the morning. And huge shout out to Duncan once again for driving. Very grateful for his help there. He had a great race too. So yeah, really delighted that I was able to get up, sleep in my own bed, get up. We could drive down there. Everything was super easy, super organised, and we could just get on and race. It was job done. I didn't have to worry about anything else, and that's all I wanted. Once I knew that the fueling would go well in this one, which I have now proven that it has, I can now consider something a little bit bigger and better next year. What I've got to say is huge kudos to Abingdon. They are one of the only clubs now to be putting on a club marathon in the country, and also this is one of 8 marathons in the country that's accepted. Your time is accepted for the World Marathon Majors qualifying times if you need a fast time to get into a race. This is only one of 8. So again, they obviously have a gold standard in terms of what they set there. That's absolutely fantastic. And again, the organisation of the event was just brilliant. Yes, those miles, what I would say 4 and 5 are a little bit frustrating, a little bit too much pavement hopping to get a good flow. The main loop itself is fantastic, bar that bouncy track, and honestly the only thing I would change is getting rid of that subway. That is honestly something that if they could fix it, it would be fantastic. I think you could then live with the bouncy track and that first sort of like mile 4 and 5 where it's a little bit slower. It's just that subway. If you are flagging, it absolutely drains you and it just finishes you off. Otherwise, it's fantastic. It served a purpose. I can now move on to something nice and fast next year. So let's wrap this up with what is next. Well, I'm going to do a video soon about the remaining races that I have for 2025. Obviously, I have the fire in my belly now to go and nail a 2026 marathon. I'm going to take some time to really think about this. Not that I have time because races sell out ridiculously fast. I have put my name in the hat for a good race for London. Things that stack against me at London, I don't tend to have good races. It's end of April, it's going to be hot, it's not going to work in my favour. And yeah, I'm just not sure on the course. It's a bit too busy. I feel like it's becoming a bit of a fanfare. I have said this. The one thing inside me that really wants to happen with London is just to go there and run one good race to kind of tick that box. When I've done that, I feel like I can put that London thing to bed and not enter it again. Or if I ever get a championship time, maybe still just like experiencing a championship start, but it's not something I want to go back to every single year. It's just an option for me, putting my name in the hat. I actually preferred this year doing a half marathon and then going into a 5K block, marathon training through the summer and then racing in the autumn. That's my preference anyway. So I am going to look at what options I have in the autumn that are not in the UK, something like Amsterdam, Frankfurt, maybe something in December like Valencia, Malaga. I'm going to look at options, put it that way. Or if I do a spring one and I work on it through the winter, I am going to look at other options than Seville. I do still have a place for Seville. Don't even get me started. I know it is obviously the best option. Seville is just quite an expensive place to go as a family. We go as a family for a family holiday. I drop in a race while I'm out there. I'm not prepared to compromise on that and be selfish and go out and just race. I'm not interested. So I am looking at other options there and maybe seeing if I can get a weekend out to maybe Barcelona or other things like that, where I can get something done earlier in the year so that I can still get my 5K training done. I've got a few options that I'm scoping out. Watch this space. So there we go, guys. That's it for the Abingdon Marathon race recap. My thoughts on it, the fueling, what's next. I appreciate each and every one of you. You are amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in to the channel for this recent training series, and of course the marathon and this video too. I can't wait to bring another training series to you in the near future where we build up to another goal race. Excited for that. In the meantime, time to rest and recover this week, get back to it next week, and then start to lock in for some big winter miles. If you missed the Abingdon Marathon race video, I'll make sure I leave that one on screen, and also I'll leave the Burnham Half video on screen that I ran 6 weeks ago too, and had a bit of a breakthrough race there as well. That was cool. So I'll leave those two on screen, and hopefully I'll see you guys over on one of those.